Hello everyone. Good evening. Hope my voice is clear, right? Okay. Let's start the session. So, good evening everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Python Web App and GitHub course, Web Apps and GitHub course. So, in yesterday's session, we were discussing about the basic introduction to Python, why we are using Python, what are the different technologies where Python has been used, and how the frameworks have been used for different technologies. What are different frameworks that we'll be using for different technologies? We have discussed that in yesterday's session. But unfortunately, there was a network issue, right, in yesterday's session. So we have covered the basic introduction to Python. What are the advantages of Python? Why we are using Python? What is the use of Python in web applications that we have seen? So in today's session, I want to explain you the installation process. I want to explain you all the installation process of Python. So first of all, to use the Python, to use the libraries of Python or packages of Python, we need to first download the Python from your browser. Okay. First you need to download Python and we need IDE to write the code of Python. Okay. So we'll be using Visual Studio Code for building the projects. Okay. And we'll for practicing the basic for practicing of basic Python, we'll be using Anaconda. Okay. So we'll be using Anaconda. We'll be using two softwares here. We'll be using Anaconda for practicing and for practicing basic codes. And then we'll be using Visual Studio Code for if you are going on large projects or if you are writing for the large codes, Visual Studio Code is a better choice. Okay. So let me just share my whole screen. Yeah, just a minute. So hope you all understood what is Python, why do we even use Python for our application. For this course also we choose Python. We have many programming languages, but we choose Python. We have seen why we are using Python. We have seen the advantages of using Python in yesterday's session. Okay, so let me just share the PPT up to where we have continued yesterday. Okay. So we were discussing about basic Python syntax, right? For printing, as I said yesterday, for giving any output, we'll be using print statement. The print statement is generally used. The print statement is generally used if you want to display something to the user. For storing any values, we'll be using variables. Variables are like a name that you give to how you are a human. We'll be having some name, right? So to store some value also, we'll be giving the name. That is called, we say it as variable. And we have conditional statements. We have seen about comments, single line comment, multi-line comment, right? So we have seen yesterday Python syntax, the basic syntax. Indentation is very important in Python. What is indentation? Indentation is will be providing a space whenever there is requirement of space, so that Python understands that we'll be using indentation. Will be grouping the statements in to a particular block. We'll be grouping the statements. For that, we'll be using indentation. Indentation is nothing but a just space. Whenever there is a requirement of a space, we'll be using indentation there. And comments, yesterday, as I've discussed, we are having single line comment, multi-line comment. For single line comment, we are using hashtag. For multi-line comment, we were using triple quotes. Then we have variables and data types. Variables are like we are storing some value to a variable, and data types are we'll be having different types of data. We'll be having integer, float. This we'll be discussing in tomorrow's session also. We'll be discussing about the variables and data types in tomorrow's session. Data types will be having many data types like will be so we'll be having the data where we'll be giving there will be different types of data. The data won't be of a similar type. We'll be having various types in the data. If it is a number, we'll be writing as integer. If it is a decimal, we'll be writing as float. Don't worry, we'll be going through detailed explanation in tomorrow's session, data types. So this is the basic syntax. The basic syntax comes in the basic syntax, we'll be having indentation, comments, variables and data types, and basic operations. Basic operations mean addition, multiplication, like that. So here is the example code of Python where we are printing hello world. So to specify any output, we'll be using print statement, right? So to specify any output, we'll be using print statement. So I want to display something as output to the user. We'll be using print statement. As I said yesterday, print brackets and whatever you want to display that we are going to write under this inside this brackets. So here I'm using print hello world. So this is printing some data to the user. Okay. So for that, I'm using this print statement. This is the variable. This is the variable, and we are storing some, I want to store my name in the variable called name. So here, this is the Alice, and we are storing Alice to the name. And we are storing some integer value as age. My age is something like this. And I'm performing a basic operation, which means I'm adding everything. Hello, my name is Alice, plus your string. We cannot add, I'm adding the everything, because we cannot add this, we cannot add our we cannot add string with integer. So that's the reason I'm converting this integer into string, and I'm adding hello, and I'm giving name. You are 30 years old. It's like that. This is the example code, basic example code. Once we start working on everything, once we'll go basic level by level, then we'll understand how to write our own programs. Okay. So now comes the installation part. So first, for IDE, we are using Anaconda. Okay. So we'll be using Python first. First, we'll be installing Python. First, I'll explain how to install Python. So first, we need to go to, yeah, I'm just sharing the lab manual. So this lab manual will be shared in the LMS. LMS is the platform where all the materials will be shared. So you people will be having the access to LMS if you score in the evaluation that will be conducted on every Friday. Okay. Or else there will be the paid amount. You need to pay some amount to access the LMS. So everything, materials and codes, whatever we'll be working on, and the recording sessions will be shared in the LMS. LMS is like a it is like a portal where we'll be sharing all the materials to you people, and as well as recorded sessions also. You can access them everything there. So first we'll be downloading the Python. Anaconda, through Anaconda, we'll launch the Jupyter notebook, and then after that Visual Studio Code. Okay. So first, as you know, we have already discussed the introduction to Python in yesterday's class. So if you download Python, we can access the libraries of Python, like NumPy, Pandas. These are basic libraries that we'll be using if you work on projects. Okay, so we'll be having the access to libraries like NumPy, Pandas, TensorFlow. Okay, so you can download Python in your PC, MacBook, Mac operating system, Windows or Linux. Okay, so first I'm using now Windows, so I'll be explaining you the process of how to install Python in your Windows. Okay, so first you need to go to your browser. So first you need to go to your browser. Then you need to just python.org. Go to the link python.org. Okay. So go to this python.org and then go to downloads. Okay. So go to downloads. First, you need to enter python.org in your browser. Then go to downloads. So if you go to downloads, we are here. So you need to, it is better to install the latest version of Python because latest version will be having the additional features. So now I am having the latest version as Python 3.12.5. So if you are downloading for Windows, you can download here for Linux, Mac operating system, etc. So in my case, the Python is already downloaded. So I don't need to download it again. So once you install the Python, make sure you need to add to path. You need to see, this is how it appears when you download the Python. So you need to first press on continue. You need to just remember, you need to click this icon, add Python to path. So this is very important. If you want to download any libraries of Python, you need to click on this box. Then only you can access the libraries of the Python, and make sure the Python should be added to path by clicking this box. Okay. Then after that, installation will be started. And then after that, you can set up successfully after the installation is completed. So now you have downloaded the Python. Now I want to check whether Python is really downloaded in a proper manner or not. For that, what you need to go, you need to just go to terminal. Just go to terminal. So you need to check your version. Python space hyphen version. See, you can see here. If it is giving the proper version, when I was installing Python, it was 3.12.3 version. So if you're adding Python to your path and the installation process is proper, then it will give the correct version. If it is not giving the version, then there is something issue with your download. So again, you need to reinstall it or check. You need to install it properly. Okay. So after installation is completed, you need to go to terminal or command line and just need to type this command, Python space hyphen version. Then after that, you need to install Anaconda. Okay. So to install to Anaconda, just go to anaconda.com products distribution. Okay, just go to the link. You need to go to anaconda.com. Then after that, yeah. Sorry. So you need to go to anaconda.com. Then go to products. Then go to distribution. So you need to create the for free download. You need to just provide the email to download the distribution, and then you need to submit it. Okay. So then after that, here in my case also, Anaconda has already been downloaded. Okay. So just go to this link. First, you need to go to anaconda.com. Then after that, go to products, then distribution. And you need to install the latest version of Anaconda. Okay. So then after that, after you install the Anaconda, this is the window you'll be seeing. Just click on next first. Then you need to accept the agreement. Just click on I agree button, and you need to press this just me. Okay, install for just me, or you can use all users also, but it is better to click on just me instead of all users. Then you need to give the destination folder. Then you need to click on next. Then after that, you need to install. Okay. Here in my case, installation is already completed. So while it is installing, it will be showing like this. Okay. Then you need to click on next, and the Anaconda will be successfully installed. So after you install the Anaconda, you need to just open this Anaconda Navigator. So this will be the icon that will be displayed on your desktop after you install it. Or else you need to search in your Windows or your whatever, you need to search in your PC. Okay, and you need to search Anaconda Navigator and you need to open it. So if you open, it will display like this. Okay, it will be displaying like this. So you'll be having different Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, Spider. So you need to just, after it displays like this, you need to click on launch. So if you click on this launch button, it will redirect you to browser. Okay, so it will redirect you to browser. So this is the browser window. It will redirect you to browser. There you can open the new file. You need to, okay, there you can open the new file, and then you can start working on, then you can start working on your Python codes. Okay, so every day there will be theoretical session and practical session. So first half an hour will be theoretical session. We'll be discussing about the theory and the syntax and everything. In the next half an hour, I'll be discussing the practical session where we'll be working on examples of Python in Jupyter Notebook. So it is good to use Jupyter Lab if you are beginner to Python. So you'll be understanding line by line where what is happening at each line of code, like that. So every day it is mandatory to install these things if you want to work with examples of Python. Okay, so just keep this Anaconda and Python ready. Then after that, we'll be downloading Visual Studio Code. So in the beginning, we won't be using Visual Studio Code. So for practicing, we'll be using Anaconda. In the Anaconda, we'll be launching the Jupyter Lab. But once we move on to the higher levels, we'll be using Visual Studio Code. So for that, you need to just to download Visual Studio Code, just search Visual Studio Code, and search Visual Studio Code, and you need to click this download button or download for Windows. So I'm using Windows, so you have to click download for Windows. Now I'll be explaining after downloading the Visual Studio Code. 1 minute, yeah. See, this is how you can download the Visual Studio Code. So after clicking the download button for Windows, for Linux, you can use for Linux, we can use for Mac operating system, we can download VS Code. You need to accept the agreement. You need to click on I accept the agreement, then next. You need to click create desktop icon. Okay. So then you need to click on next. After installing has been completed, it will show you like this. So I've already downloaded Visual Studio Code. So there is already a code open here. Okay. So this is how Visual Studio Code looks like. So if you open a file, you need to open the file. And after you download the Visual Studio Code, you need to go to extensions. Okay. Go to here extensions and search for Python extension. Okay. So search for Python extension. So Python extension by Microsoft will be there. So I've already installed this. Make sure you need to install that if you want to work with Python. So I've already installed it. Okay, and you need to download Python debugger also. Okay. So This is how we'll be downloading the Visual Studio Code, Python, and Anaconda. Okay. Now I'll be discussing the differences between compiler and interpreter. So have you heard these words compiler and interpreter before? What is compiler? And what is interpreter? After discussing compiler and interpreter, we'll be discussing about how to write the simple Python program, basic Python program, and how to save it, how to create a new file. Okay. So a compiler, first of all, a compiler is a program. It is like a program. It will translate the source code that has been written in high level programming language. So normally computer understands only zeros and ones. It will understand only byte code. Machine code will be binary code or byte code. Okay. So the computer only understands zeros and one. It doesn't understand the English language. It doesn't understand anything. It will understand only zeros and one. We say it as like a byte code. Okay. So to convert what is high level programming language? Whatever the programming language that you are using, example Python or Java or C. These all are high level programming languages. We'll be writing that programming languages to convert into machine code. So how can this be done? To convert our source code that has been written in high level programming language into machine code. So compiler does this. So this translates the source code into machine code. Okay. So the compilation process, it generally occurs before the program is run. Before you run the program, the compilation occurs. And the entire source code is, which means what? The entire source code is translated at once. That results in an executable file. So why do we even want compiler? So generally the compiler, we use it to check that the entire program, whether it consists of errors or not. Okay. And we'll just check the entire program if it doesn't consist error, and we'll convert into an executable form. So this executable file, we can run it multiple times without, again, we don't need to recompile it, because once you know that it doesn't have any errors, we can just run multiple times, and the compilation process next time is not required. Okay, so this is compiler. Now what is interpreter? So interpreter, it is a program. It will directly execute instructions in a high level programming language. So without need of compiling the machine code, it will directly execute the instructions. Okay. So instead of translating the entire program at once, interpreter translates, if it will translate, and it will execute the code line by line. Okay. So why do we even use interpreter? So interpreter will be using to execute the program line by line, so that we can easily debug, and errors will be reported immediately. You might be seeing whenever you're writing a Python program, if you write a Python program, if you give the wrong syntax, you can see the red line there, which means what? The errors are immediately reported there whenever the error has been occurred. So, but the interpreted programs, they run slower. So that is the reason you can see here. Compiler has faster execution and interpreter has slower execution. So why interpreter has slower execution? It has slower execution than compiled programs, because here the translation occurs during the execution. That's the reason slow execution. Okay. And difference, we will be seeing differences between I think you got the basic understanding of compiler and interpreter. We'll be seeing differences between compiler and interpreter. So error display, here it displays all errors after compilation, which means what? It will display all the errors at the same time. This means you have to fix all errors that is found in the entire code before you can successfully compile and run the program. Whereas and it has fast execution speed, because the entire program is translated into machine code before execution. So once compiled, the machine code can be executed quickly by the computer. Whereas here it displays errors line by line. So which means what? We are getting the immediate feedback. We are getting the immediate feedback that there is an error like that. Okay. So we are getting the immediate feedback during the execution of the program. And here it has slower execution because the code is translated and executed, first translated and executed line by line, rather than pre-compiling into machine code. Okay. Next, here intermediate object code, it requires memory. So we are compiling the code. You don't need to recompile it again. So we need to store this compiled code. This object code can be executed multiple times without recompilation. So which means what? We require memory to store it. So that's the reason it requires memory. Here, it doesn't require memory. So because no additional memory is required for interpreter, because interpreter directly execute the high level code. It doesn't require memory. So example, languages that typically use compiler are C and C++. And the language that use interpreters are PHP, Ruby, and Python. Python uses interpreter. Okay. So compilers we use for, these are better for fast execution and require error correction before execution. So error correction will be happening before execution. And this is suitable for applications where performance is crucial. So interpreter, it provides the immediate feedback, can easily debug. So this is suitable for the applications uh, where we require flexibility, where we want development to be easy. Then we are not into execution speed. You don't want to mind the execution speed, but you want flexibility and the development should be easy. In that case, we'll be using interpreter. So Python, it uses interpreter. Okay, not compiler. So now we'll be discussing how to write a simple Python program. So you will be, from tomorrow, we'll be writing all our Python programs in, we'll be writing all our Python programs in Anaconda. We'll be discussing examples in Anaconda where we'll be launching Jupyter Lab. Okay. So now I want to explain a basic simple example of Python. So first, if you open the Visual Studio Code after you download the extension, you need to go to File. Okay. So you need to go to File and we are creating Python file. Is Python file text file or normal? It is not a text file. So we are just going to new file. So I'm not using text file. I want to create a new Python file. So you need to click on Python file. Okay. So I click the Python file. I'll write some basic program. Okay. Say some, what is the main thing whenever you're starting with any programming language, we'll be writing hello world programs, right? We'll be writing hello world program. So to display anything to the user, what is the function we'll be using in Python? Everyone put in the comment box. So to display something to the user, what we'll be using? Which statement we'll be using to display something output to the to display anything to user? What is the statement that we'll be using? I want everyone to answer in comment box. Yes. So print statement. So generally, if you're using any other programming language, what we used to do to display just a small line, hello world, we need to write many lines of code, right? Let's say if you are taking basic Python programming language is C, right? The basic programming language is C. So if I just want to display hello world to user, I need to write uh, many lines. Like what? I need to write if I'm using other programming language, the basic programming language is hashtag sorry C. For that I need to write hashtag include stdio.h. This is Python, by the way, Python interpreter, Python file. So I'm just showing if I want to write in C, we'll be using we'll be writing many lines. Hashtag include stdio.h, and then we need to what? We need to create the main function. So if it is returning integer, we'll be writing int. If it is like anything, we'll be writing many lines of code in the main. Then after that, we'll be writing flower brackets. Then after that, we'll be using printf statement, right? Printf statement. And then after that, we'll be writing, we'll be writing after writing the printf statement, we shouldn't forget to specify semicolon. Sorry, we shouldn't forget to specify colon. And we need to write return statement. So many things we need to write, right? If it is another programming language, right? But in Python, it is not like that. And just use one statement. I won't have a large syntax. I'll be using simple syntax to display something. So to print anything to the user, we'll be writing print statement. So anything that you want to display to the user, that will be writing inside this brackets. Okay. Now, I want to write something in this brackets. I want to display something thing. I want to display something. So the basic example that we use in every program is hello world. Hello world. Right? So I have written a print statement. Just one line is enough. C. If it would be other programming language, I need to use many. I need to use many. I need to use many lines. Okay. So I'll run this. So before running this, I need to save the file. So for saving the file in Python, what do you think which extension we'll be using? I want everyone to answer in comment box. Which extension we'll be using to save the Python file? So to save, Control S, or we can go by like this. So if I'm just using Control S, we'll be saving the Python file. So which extension we'll be using for saving the Python file? So I need to give the path where I want to save the Python file. So I'll go to Python programs. I've already created a folder where I'll be storing all the Python files. So I'll give the name as Python file as, I'll give something. So to save it, you need to give this .py extension. .py extension should be given to save the Python file. Okay. Then click save. So the Python, see here the file name has been given, basic.py. This is what extension.py we'll be using to save Python files. I have saved the file. Now I'll run and I'll start debug. Python debugger. I'll be running Python file. So it is executing. So you can see hello world has been. You can see here hello world has been executed here. I'm displaying something to the user. So to display something, we'll be using print statement, as I said earlier. Right? The world has been displayed here. Now you can, the one way to run here is, will be running through here, run and start debugging, or you can just directly press F5. And the other way to run here is, we'll be going to terminal and we'll be writing Python and your file name. So what is my file name? My file name is basic.py. Okay, so if I use this command also, okay, wait, will be, okay, actually I went to another folder. Actually, I was opening another folder where the folder name was color count. So that's the reason it was giving like that. See, here it is in this folder was being displayed. I'll open. Sorry. So actually, here I'm having another folder, Python folder was being opened. So that's the reason it was giving no such file or directory. Here you can see there is no basic.py uh, file here. So that's the reason it was giving no such file or directory. So for that, you need to, if you want to open any folder, so you need to go to file and then open folder. And actually, my folder was Python programs. In this folder, I have saved this file, basic.py. So that folder will be opening. Now I can run the, I can take the new terminal. I'll open this basic.py file from here in the left side. Now I can run using the command. Okay. So one way to run the Python program is from here, start debugging, or you can run from here also. Okay, it will just run, it won't debug. So now I'll write Python space. What is my file name? Basic. You can see here, my file name is basic.py. Oh, sorry. You can see here now the file has been run. So before it was not been done because I was opening another folder from here. So here I have opened my folder where I've saved this basic.py and then I've written. So the other way to run is Python and your file name .py. Okay. So this is how you run the Python files. And to save the Python files, we'll be using .py extension. Now, okay, I've displayed something to the user. There will be two processes in any computer, input and output. We have tried output. Now, how to take input? Okay, now to take the input from the user, we need to create a variable. Okay, so in the variable, we'll be storing the value where the user will be giving the input. Whenever the user gives the input, the value will be stored in that variable. So generally, what is variable? Anyone know what is variable? Can anyone know what is? Can anyone say what is variable? So variable is in programming. It is like a, we are giving the name to something value. Okay. So variables are given names. So you can refer to the data. So whatever you're giving if you want to perform some operation, if you want, suppose if I want to perform some operation like addition operation. To perform that addition operation, how it will perform the addition operation with the data. So where it will get the data, you as a user will be giving the input to the input data to our program. Okay, so where that data will be stored, inside it will be stored in the memory. But if you want to refer the data, if you want to access the data, we'll be giving some name, like how we are having names to us to refer. If I want to call you, I'll be calling you with the name. So it is similarly like that. So variables, they will be giving names, so you can refer to the data, whatever they are holding the data, it will refer to that. So the name of a variable should be descriptive in other programming languages. Okay, but here in Python you can just create the variable. You don't need to specify the data type, what data type it holds. Okay, so we'll be using assignment operator for we'll be discussing the operators also. This is the assignment operator, sorry. So this is the assignment operator where we'll be using this to store the values in a variable. So now here I'll create a basic variable. I'll create the basic variable. I want to take input, or else I want to take input from the user. I want to take the input of username. So I'll create a variable name as name. To the left hand side, I'll be creating the variable as name, and then is equal to, and to take the input, you need to specify in input input and brackets. Okay, so when inputting anything, so while it is asking input to the user, if you want to display something while taking the input from the user, you want to display something to the at the output terminal. This is my terminal. From here, the terminal, I'll be giving the input. So while giving the input, if I want to display something while giving the input, that I'll be displaying, that I'll be writing in this brackets. So I'm asking user to enter his name. Okay, I'm asking user to enter your name. So if I'm writing this in this input brackets, so whenever the user is entering the input, this will be displayed in the output terminal. This will be displayed in the terminal when it is taking the input. So I'm taking this name as input, enter your name. So I'm asking user to enter his name. Okay. Then I'll give the same thing, I'll give the output. So when the user enters the name, right, I want to print it to the output. Okay. I want to print that. So I want to say hello to him. Okay. So this is hello is like a string. What a string is? String is collection of characters. So don't worry, we'll be discussing about data types. In that, we'll be seeing string also. In tomorrow's session, we'll be discussing data types and what are variables, data types, and operators in tomorrow's session. So here I'm asking the name. I'm writing this in double quotes, which means what? This is a collection of characters, string. So if you write anything in this double quotes, that will be displayed as it is whenever it is taking input. So here also I'm printing hello. I'm writing on a double quotes, which is string. So it will print as it is, comma, name. Okay, I want to give space. So one way to run is like this, or you can run like this also. We have seen different ways of running, right? So this will just run, it won't debug. So I'm running this file. So I'm asking end user some input. So while giving the input, so it is asking me whatever I've typed here, it is asking me that. It is displaying that. So it is giving enter your name. So I'll write my name. So you can see here, I'm taking the input from the user and I'm storing that in the variable called name. And I'm printing hello, comma, name. So what is name? Whatever the user enters the input, that will be stored into this variable called name, and it will print that. So whatever you want to print, it has been printing that. Okay. So this is about the basic Python program, simple Python program of taking the input and printing the output. So we have seen hello world program. So the basic structure of the Python program. Okay, and indentation is necessary. I said you right, indentation is necessary in Python programs. So indentation will be understanding when you start working on conditional statements. Okay, so in conditional statements, loops will be using indentation. So we have seen the difference between compiler and interpreter, and we have seen how to save your Python file. How will be saving Python file? Using .py extension, right? Okay, so we have seen basic Python program structure, how to create the file and save the file, and importance of indentation. So indentation is very important in Python program. Once you start working on conditions on loops, in that we'll be using indentation. Generally, now we have just used the input statement and the output statement. Suppose if I press here space, this is not required. Indentation is not required here. So indentation is required. We need to keep the space whenever there is requirement of indentation. We will be using indentation to group this set of statements to a particular block. So here the indentation is not required. It is showing the red mark, which means there is an error. Okay, which means there is an error. Suppose if I run this and start debugging. You can see here whatever the errors, can see here problems. Unexpected indentation. The indentation is not required here. We are not grouping something, any statement to any block, any conditional block, anything. So unintended, not expected. In line 2, there is indentation error. Statements must be separated by new lines or semicolons. So like this, you can see here. Now if I remove this indentation from here, now I won't be, see, you can see here, no problems have been detected. So that's the reason indentation is very important in Python. Okay, and once we start working on conditions and loops and functions, there the indentation is very much necessary. Otherwise, you'll be getting the errors. Okay, so we have discussed basics of Python. Now from tomorrow, we'll be starting the syntax. We'll be discussing about operators in tomorrow's session, operators, data types. Okay, so that's it about today's session. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment box. So any doubts, you can ask me now. So the Google review link has been shared. There you can give a review for our sessions. Okay, so in the comment box, Google review link has been shared. After giving the review, you can fill up the attendance link. So I think you are not having any doubts because this is the basic of any, this is the basics of Python. To start with other things like expressions, arithmetic, or sorry, operators and data types. These are the basic things you need to know: how to save your file, how to install, and how to run. Okay, and how to take the input, how to display something to the user. Okay. Okay, what about others? No doubts. So I hope you all will continue with the installation process, will follow the installation process that I have discussed, and start working on the examples from tomorrow. So today just try this basic examples, that is taking input and printing the output. Okay. So just try this basic examples. From tomorrow, we'll be working on other examples. We'll be having the half an hour session on practical session only. We'll be having on practicals only. First half an hour we'll be discussing about theory, and the next half an hour we'll be discussing about examples of whatever we have discussed in theory. So I hope you all will install the requirements. So other doubts, any doubts for other people? So the Google Drive link has also been shared. There also you can access the LMS. Sorry, you can access the materials. Okay. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me and fill up the attendance link. Every day attendance is mandatory. Okay. So any doubts regarding the sessions and everything? So 80% minimum attendance is mandatory, and every week we'll be conducting the assessment. We'll be conducting the assessments. Weekly test will be provided on every Friday. So 80% average score is should be present for certification. So just fill up the attendance every day and try to attend the classes regularly. And I think few people might are attending the classes without registering into the course. So registration is important if you want to get the certificate. So register through the link that has been provided in the comment box. Yeah, you can get the certificate after the completion of this course, but you need to have 80% minimum attendance should be present, and every Friday we'll be conducting the test. So in that 80% average score should be present if you want a certificate. So that's the reason, just attend the sessions regularly and try to attend the test with a good score. Any other doubts regarding the session? So the attendance is done. You can see the attendance link, the pinned comment in the comment box. Attendance link has been shared. We'll be having Google Forms. You need to fill up the attendance there. The attendance form is been shared. You can fill the attendance there. Okay. So I'm ending the session if you have no doubts. So I'm ending the session. No doubts, right? So yesterday and today are basic things. So that's the reason it is like you won't be getting that much doubts. But from tomorrow we'll be working on actual examples and programs, example programs on Python. Okay, fill up the attendance link. I'm ending the session. So Chirag Kumar, you can see the attendance link in the comment box. There is a pinned comment. You can see on the top the comment has been pinned, and you can see the attendance link is being shared by our team. Attendance link is present in the comment box. You can just click on the link. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So let's continue the session tomorrow. Okay, thank you.